Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your week 5 work. Hold on a second, let me just put it all in here. Okay, we're going to go over week 5, and there has been some questions. I've had some problems with the screen recording software, so I had to reinstall it, and so this is a little bit late, but this is kind of an extra thing anyway. Aren't required to do these in the 2 when I can because I think it helps. Let's see. Okay, so let's go to week 5 discussion. Now, what you're going to do here, the discussion really is doing research on best practices for creating a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. And all you're doing is answering these 3 bullets. 5 bad habits. You want to talk about overcoming each of the habits that you identify, and then 5 recommendations to creating a compelling presentation. So I want you to do those things for this discussion question. That's all you're doing is answering this, and this is kind of in preparation for the assignment 2, which I'm obviously going to talk a little bit more about because I think it's confusing. Honestly, I wish the wording was a little clearer, because when you read it, you're like, it's very short as far as content, but the point of the presentation is the delivery. That's really the point here. You can talk about team effectiveness, the things that we've discussed about it before, and incorporate that. That is fine. Sure, you're probably making up a lot of this stuff as well as far as, specifics, but the point is the presentation. Now, it does need to obviously be long enough and substantial, but it's the presentation. I'm looking at how you're presenting it to me the most. So, that's the key here. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. As you're creating it, putting it together, use some of the tips that you've discovered in your discussion to create the presentation here. Your best practices, your recommendations, implement them here. Make it professional. Use speaker notes. Speaker notes are what is kind of your what you would say in the presentation. Now, again, when you're delivering a presentation, you might actually jot down, just short notes in that section to help you guide you along. For the purposes of the class, it needs to be written out clearly, written properly, proper grammar, complete sentences, citations if they're needed. Bullets, the slides should have bullet summaries of what you're writing in the speaker notes. Again, like I said, in the real world, you probably wouldn't write everything out clearly in the notes. It would just help jog your memory as you're speaking to the group of people in front of you. But for the purposes of this class, because it's a graded assignment, I would want you to write everything out clearly and properly. Final page. The final slide should have a reference page on it. But I would have the in-text citations in the notes section. And really that's all. You're getting an introduction, body, conclusion, everything here listed here. And when you go, let me go down here into the rubric. Pull that out. Sometimes that thing doesn't want to, there we go. You can see what you're going to be graded on specifically. And all of those elements are in there. If I can just pull this up, sorry. Again, I'm having a little bit of problems getting my documents up. There we go. maybe, maybe not. There we go. Just take it a minute. You can see here what you're being graded on. Specifically, you know, you've got your, you know, it has your presentation has a clear purpose. You know, and then it references and examples that are relatable by the audience. You want to incorporate that into the presentation. Since you're talking about team effectiveness, you know, maybe you can think up and draw some examples from your own professional life that you could actually incorporate in here to satisfy that requirement. And then you need to make sure that you have an effective introduction, conclusion. So you need to spend some time on the beginning and the end. If you're going to come and, you know, introduce it and bring some background information, kind of to set the presentation up, that's fine. And then at the end, you want to make sure, at the end, that you're concluding it, and it does kind of wrap it up. You want to follow the 10-20-30 rule, creating a presentation. Make sure that you have additional information for each part of the presentation. Just make sure you're following that rule. You know what it is, and you're following it in format while you're formatting content. You know, artwork, graphics. The challenge is not to be too busy, not too distracting, but to look professional, not too plain. Sometimes I'll have students give me a presentation on just white, you know, slides, this background. I don't want to see that. I want to see something that you wouldn't mind presenting at any kind of organizational meeting. Speaker notes. I really talked about that already. Again, not everything should be on your slide. I mean, you don't want to put everything that you say on your slide. That indicates that's a poor presentation strategy right there, is putting everything you would say on the slide. You don't want to do that. The slide should kind of touch on the topic, summarize it, but everything that you would say should be in that notes section, and it shouldn't be exactly what's on the slide. Material was correctly cited, final page listed. Yes, we just talked about that. Try to format your reference page as you would in a paper properly. You should still be able to use the hanging indents. I want to see it. I want to see you do that. And then your written component. Can't even speak. Written components here. One thing, I mean, these are just a few things, and I did kind of stress it about the conclusion. A lot of times what I'll see is a conclusion that doesn't really wrap everything up. It doesn't give you that sense of closure, like it states right here that, you know, that it's a clear ending. And a lot of times in a conclusion, you might summarize your 3 main points and then, you know, just kind of close it that way. Just make sure you give it some sense of closure, because you don't want to. You want to take the audience through a really great opening introduction that draws interest to the topic, and then you want to close it with and give everyone a feeling that, you know, everything that needed to be said was said, and you know, just not leave it so open-ended that, you know, leave the reader kind of like, okay, well, you know, maybe feeling like they didn't get all their questions answered. So, all right, well, that's really all. It's 250 points. It's a lot of points. So, but it is the final assignment, so you would kind of expect this to be worth a lot. So spend time with it. Make sure that can give it the, you know, attention and effort that it needs. I'm going to close it down here. If you have any questions or concerns about it, let me know. I'll be happy to assist you. And just a final note, the last day of class is Wednesday. I cannot accept anything after that day. And just make sure you have everything that you can turn in according to the late policy submitted. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure being your instructor this term. I hope you have a great remainder of the fall, and hope to see you in another class. I do teach classes in HR too, so you never know. But again, any questions or concerns, and take a moment to review the grades that you have. And if you have any questions or if there's anything I've missed, just let me know. I'm glad to look at it. I'm not perfect, but I try to, I don't want you to feel like you aren't getting your questions answered or anything like that. So just let me know and I'll be happy to help. Thanks.